Hello, this is the video demo for the UATanks / the final project. Something to piggyback from the fourth milestone video demo is that as of recently, my right eye has been kind of decided not to cooperate with the rest of my body, as I've noticed that a lot of stimulation, whether that be from monitors or TVs for sunlight, really just made my right eye not enjoy the stimulation. So when I was staring, if I was using a computer monitor for long periods of times, it really just started to sting, and I was really getting a bad case of red eye on my right eye, and it just started to get a little bit just weird with me. So I kind of just decided that might as well turn something in, because due to time restraints, and my right eye was just not wanting to cooperate with me, so I kind of just wanted to turn something in. But anyways, let's hope for the best here with what I have. So, first objective, main menu exists and buttons for the options start game and quit game are all functional. If I build and run this, it would better showcase the I guess the UI on this end. Build and run. Still say that. I'll get more to this later. But if I go back, here we have the play button, options button, and the quit button. And as you notice, hovering each button, each button has a hovering effect where a black outline kind of showcases. Kind of just did this just for visualizations, or just for visual appealing. So if I were to go to the options menu, or options button, as you notice, every button has a sound effect to it. So if I were to go, as you can see here from the options menu, we have a full screen option, volume adjustment, sound effects adjustment, but the sound effects doesn't work. I couldn't get the actual sound effects to work with it. Even though the slider was working with the mixer, it was just the sound effects that wasn't working with the mixer and the slider. Here we have a graphics settings and a resolution settings, which, as you might have just seen like a couple minutes ago, I was kind of adjusting that to since it kind of saves your past resolution or graphics. So if previously you had your resolution to 640 by 480 and you exited out of the game, it would go back to the previous session's resolution. If I go back, just to showcase also, I guess, the volume, so if I were to increase this, the music volume changed. This could also be seen in the main game and all that. So if I were to press the play button, it leads to the game. And then the game has a pause menu. I mean, not a pause. Well, yeah, I guess it's a pause menu. A pause menu has 3 buttons: resume, settings, and quit. Go to settings, it would obviously leave the settings. Press resume, it would obviously resume the game. And then if you press quit, it doesn't close the application, but actually returns you back to the main menu, where the player can actually officially quit from the game. Actually, to better showcase some of the settings of the options, go to canvas options, and then if I go, so as seen before, I said there was a graphics option and a resolution option. So as you can see, when I use the build and run, you can see the resolution kind of changing. But for the graphics, just to better show evidence, because the game isn't graphics heavy, you kind of don't notice a difference in graphics. Where you go through the inspector, go to the graphics drop down button, scroll down. Over here is when you kind of see whether the graphics changed. So a value of 2 means that you're running on the highest settings. A graphics of medium, or a value of 1 means you're running a medium graphics. A value of 0 means you're running on the lowest graphics. And you can kind of notice a difference in the bottom right corner where you can see a image. So if I were to go to low to medium, you kind of see the image kind of adjusting according to the graphic settings. So that just went through just to do that because, as I said before, game isn't graphics heavy, but kind of just decided to put that in there. And as you can see, also mentioned before, there's a full screen option. Next objective, options menu exists and selections for sound effects, volume, music volume, 1, 2 players, and map of the day. Random maps were available. Kind of accidentally went over this, but the options menu does exist, as you can see. You can adjust the volume of the music within the menu and the game. So if I were to, so right now the volume is on max. Go to back. Play. So options here, lower the volume. It'll save that. It'll save save the value of the volume. So if I go back, play, the music for the game is also quieter. But I couldn't have the sound effects slider working, so if I would go here to the audio mixer, if I go to the sound mixer, the slider does work with the mixer, but I couldn't get it to work with the actual sound effects. But other than that, onward to the next objective. Map generate from instantiating tiles and options. Settling of the map of the day. Random map is functional. Tell me change scenes to the main scene. If I go to the main scene, so the random map procedural generator, it's a bit weird. It's not really fleshed out. Really, all I did was created a game object called wall generator, and this would basically, which can be changed by the designer, but basically, what this thing did was it would generate a wall randomly around the arena through a. Let me check. Let me go to scripts. Map. Rotate horizontal. It would generate a random wall through a 30 by -30 value within the x-axis and a 30 by -30 range in the y-axis. So it would just randomly generate a wall and just plop it somewhere around the place. The designer though can edit the spawn delay, so how many seconds it takes for a new wall to generate. And then here they can change the amount of walls they want to generate. So maybe they want to add more walls into the game. They can just change this value to 10, I guess. And then if they want to spawn walls quicker, they can just lower the value of spawn delay. Or if they want the walls to generate a lot slower, then they can just increase the value of spawn delay. But if I were to press play, I'm just gonna disable the audio music for now. If I were to press play, you'll notice some of the walls kind of just randomly generate. Yep, one popped there, and a couple popped there in the background. But that's kind of it for the map procedural generate. It's not fully fleshed out. On to the next objective. Map size is adjustable by designers. At least 3 sources tiles exist. This objective isn't implemented, sadly. So I guess I'd have to go to the next objective, which is AIs and players spawn not present at level load. They don't also spawn the player and AI tanks. They've kind of already have a default spawning point. It isn't randomized. So it's kind of what you see here in the scene is kind of where you're expecting to spawn and where you expect the AI tanks to spawn. On to the next objective. Two-player mode utilizes different controls. I wasn't able to put in two-player mode. So onward to the next objectives. Pick up spawn or able to be picked up by both players and AIs and respawn after a set of times. So there are 3 game objects here: a health power-up spawner, speed power-up spawner, and a fire-up power-up spawner. The one over here is a health power-up, which is a permanent buff. The golden one here is the fire rate power-up. It's kind of allows either the AI or player tank to kind of shoot quicker, as their cooldown is a lot more slower. And then this, hold on, let me get a better look of this, since it kind of doesn't look that well from here. Let me just adjust a couple things. Current health, I'll just change this to 100 for now. If I were to go here, this is a better view. This is a better view of the speeding power up, which is kind of just a blue, I guess, slinky. It's a blue slinky, and the fire power up and the speed one, those are temporary. So those only last for, depending on how long the designer wants to make it. So, well, actually, something also was, so just like with the wall power ups, not the wall power, the wall generator, the power ups also have their the game objects they're associated with. The designer can change how many they want to spawn in the game, and for how long they want to spawn a power up for a certain amount of seconds. So if they want, so right now this is set to, there's going to be 5 health power ups, and each one will spawn every 2 seconds. But the designer can change that. They can add more health power-ups to be spawned, or less health power-ups to be spawned, and they can change how long it takes. So maybe they want, if the designer wants to spawn power-ups a lot more quicker, they will lower this value. If they want it to be slower, they would increase this value. But if I were also to go, I guess the actual game object itself. If I were to go more into the scripts, so here we have power up, fire power up, and this one should be the speed one. So over here, you can see here in the scripts, they're under a public float. So this allows the designer to change it through the inspector. So over here, the power up and the speed one and the fire rate have a duration of 3 seconds. This can be adjusted through the inspector, and then they can also adjust the multiplier. So right now it's set to 2 by default. So if the player interacts with collides with a speed buff, their speed will increase by twice as much. So will the AI tanks. But I can showcase, might as well showcase that the power-ups actually do work. So if I were to go to the player tank, so right now, by default, player tank has a current health of 100, move speed of 20, and a fire cooldown of 1. So, and hypothetically, if I were to collide with each power-up, the cooldown variable should go down, move speed should go up by 2, and the health one should increase with a multiplier of 2 also, with the speed one also going down by 2 by dividing by 2. So I'd go here. You can see this increases to 40, and then see slightly for about 3 seconds. The fire cooldown is at 0.5, and then it goes back to 1. If I were to go touch one of these things, health went up. Should go up by like 200. Yeah, about 200. Kind of went to 199 because one of the AI tanks had their bullets collide with me. Onward to the next object. Oh wait, yeah, the AI. I forgot to show that the AI can also get the effects. So if I were to go here, this one should be the appropriate one. So if I were to go here, as you can notice, wasn't that one? Must have been. It's this one. This one. So this one had its current health. Yeah, okay, so it's this one. So I'm just gonna unpause, play it again. So this tank will have some buffs. The AI tank will have buffs applied to it. So let me play that again because I accidentally got the bullet fire up. So yep, health increased by 3 to 6. If they go up a little bit more, power up should have cooldown went to 1 to 0.75. They were to go grab this. Their speed went to 5 to 10. So the AIs do also get these same effects as the player does when it comes to power-ups. Power-ups affects both players and can be set to expire after X seconds or be permanent stat changes. I accidentally went over this, but yeah, the health one is a permanent buff. Or is it? No, okay, yeah. The health one is a permanent buff. They can change, since it's a public float, it should be through the inspector, and the designer can change how much of a multiplier they want to give the health power-ups for. And then, as mentioned before, the fire cooldown, or I guess fire rate, and the speed ones are temporary power-ups, so they'll last for, as of now, by default 3 seconds, but the designer can change that to 2 seconds or 5 seconds, whatever they want through the inspector. On to the next objective. Game includes at least 4 AI tanks that correctly utilize state machine logic. I only have 3. So over here is the chasing tank. So this one will go after the player tank. The one over here in the middle will run away from the player tank once the player tank reaches a close proximity. And then over here, the one on the very back, is the patrolling tank and has 4 patrol points, which the AI tank uses the 4 patrol points as a reference point of where they need to travel to. So if I were to press play, kind of showcase the actual AI tanks doing their things. So I've seen before, chase tank does its thing. I'm gonna go this way, kind of did come along. Yep, there he is. And then just gonna remove him. If I were to go, if I were to go to the other tank, this one. So right now, as you can see, if you can see back there, the patrolling tank is still patrolling until it has me on their line of sight. Which, as you can see, they do have me on their line of sight and will continue shooting at me. This one, the patrolling tank also has a better accuracy, or I guess a better response time than the tank that chases after the player. And as you have noticed, the one that runs away from you accidentally triggered it. But yeah, once you get into close proximity, it kind of runs away from you. And it uses a nav mesh. It runs under a nav mesh agent to kind of realize the obstacles. And if I were to go back here, if I were to close out of that one and go into, which one is it? AI tank number 3, which is the patrolling one. Where is it? The designer can change a lot of things with the patrolling tank, as seen here. One of the things they can change is the chase radius. So the chase radius is small by default, but if the designer increases this by like, let's put it at 17. If I go into the line of sight of that patrolling tank, let's get in here, it should chase after me. Yep, it'll chase after me. So it kind of has like a radius. So as mentioned, as seen here, it has a chase radius of how far the AI tank will chase the player tank. And the patrolling tank also uses a nav mesh agent. But onward to the next objective. At least one AI exhibits each of the following behaviors: chase, flee, patrol, hearing, and vision. That's kind of all in the patrolling tank. The patrolling tank kind of takes care of that. So the patrolling tank might be at the patrolling tank might go into I guess technically not idle. It doesn't really it will go to patrol by default, and then after depending on the chase radius, it'll chase after the player. But that's kind of there's only one AI, which is the patrolling tank back there, that shows two behaviors. This one only shows one behavior, which is just running away, and then this one shows only one behavior, which is just going after the player tank once it reaches a certain proximity. By default, it would go into idle, but then once it sees the player tank, it should be like, oh, okay, time to chase after it. But no, it's the patrol tank has two behaviors, which is patrolling and chase, and the chase depends on the chase radius. So if that increases, then the patrolling tank will travel a further distance. But onward to the next objective. Player live score and high score show in game UI and UI functions correctly in two-player mode. Wasn't able to get a UI working for player live scores and high score because it just led to some weird bugs and errors. So, for example, well, I wasn't able to just implement the high score one for starters. Wasn't also to get one for player lives, but the one for scores, I somewhat had a UI working for the scoring system. The problem is, though, when I implemented it, it led to weird behavior with the AI tanks and the player. So if I had the score UI, the player tank, their rotation would be very awkward. The rotation would kind of look like it wasn't smooth. It didn't have smooth rotation. You know, it kind of, instead of like rotating for whatever degrees, so it would only rotate like 45 degrees either to the left or right. So I don't have like specific degrees it would rotate to whenever I had the scoring AI and scoring UI, and the AI tanks would kind of behave a little awkward also. So I wasn't able to implement that. On to the next object. Options in high score persist between game sessions. So I would go back to assets, scenes, where is it? Main, start menu. No, we're supposed to save that. If I would go here, go to options. I lower the volume here. If I lower the volume of the music in the menu, it should also save the value and the music volume into the game music. So I were to press play. Oh wait, yeah, totally forgot I disabled the volume here. Let me go back here. Let me enable that. So going back to here, start menu. So if I options, but lower the volume, as you can see, main menu obviously changes to accordingly to the slider. But if I was also to leave it like about this low, then if I was to go back, press play, the game music also does the same thing. Kind of, it's a lot more silent. Or I guess they also better showcase. So that's kind of just a comparison. So that's the game music under this volume. But if I were also to just put it at max, go to the game music is a lot more louder. There's one issue with it, and that is that even though it saves the settings, the slider doesn't save its position. So that's kind of a weird thing. So even though the volume value was saved throughout the menu and game, the slider will always reset back to its max position. That was kind of a weird thing. Onward to the next thing. The game ends when both players' lives are less than or equal 0. Game over condition works correctly in two-player mode. Wasn't able to get a game over menu working. I do have a game over scene over here, which would have two buttons, a return button and a quit button. So if they press the return button, it would lead them back to the main menu of the game. If they press quit, it would just close them the game. And here was the UI for score and high score. But wasn't able to get it game to end, mostly because of just time restraints, and my right eye was just, it really just, my right eye was just deciding to, especially before not wanting to cooperate, and so I just kind of decided to leave this implementation behind because I just wanted to give my right eye a bigger break from being stimulated from the TV monitor. But on to the next thing. Game sounds play. This is a little bit weird also. The only game sounds that do play is when the tank fire. I'm actually not sure about tank death. Don't remember. Let me go. Let me go back into disabling the music. Go back here. So there's a firing sound. Don't recall though if there was a death sound. So there was no death sound, okay. Nor is there a pickup sound. Yeah, the only sound effect that worked was the firing. There was another one that worked. I guess I didn't save it. Oh yeah, it was for the power-up sounds. There was a sound effect for the power-ups, but I guess I didn't save it. But yeah, that was the only one that seems to be working is the firing one. I could have sworn I had one also for power-ups working, but I guess I just forgot to save it. On to the next objective. Game manager exists. Go to assets, scripts. Here's the game manager over here. This game manager allows isn't as fleshed out as it should be. There should be a lot more stuff in the game manager. But on to the next objective. Bug and error free. I suppose it'd be about 98% bug free with the version I have. But granted, there are some things left behind. There are some objectives left out, mostly because, such as I mentioned before, the scoring system would lead to bugs. I did also have a. So you might have noticed there was a script for the health bar up here. This also led to weird bugs, but so what this was supposed to be is, well, obviously a health bar, and then it would obviously decrease as the player tank took more damage, and then once it got to like here, it would change to a yellow color, and then once it reached like here, it would reach a red color. Problem is though, when I implemented it, the health of the AI tanks would go to negative, so it would never actually die. On to the next objective, comments. Yeah, you can go to any of the scripts. It should be it should be commented. A lot of the code is commented, as you can see, for a multitude of scripts. They have all their comments. And on to the next objective, project organization. Yep, go back here. Back to the assets. We have an animation folder, which is for the power-ups, because the power-ups have a rotation animation, which aren't running through Unity's animator, but it's all running through, or actually is it's more running. Oh yeah, no, I'm not. I didn't use Unity's animation tool. I just used a C# script to kind of just tell the power-ups to move through the Z, Y, and X axes. Going back to the assets folder, there's a one for art, which has the materials, models, and sprites. There's the audio folder, which should have the mixers. This one is... I do not remember. This one was one of the... Unity is something I got from the Unity Assets Store, but I don't remember what that one is. This one was a Unity. I got this from the Unity Assets Store. This is for the music. This one was for the particle effects. So something you might have noticed was The power-ups and the AI tanks have particle effects. So when you pick up a power-up, it kind of shows up like a little explosion particle effect. And as you might have seen before, also when an AI tank is destroyed, it kind of shows a plasma explosion particle effect. That's all because of the this folder. This one, the free pack. I believe the free pack is the sound effects. Yeah, free app pack is the sound effects. Here we have the prefabs, scenes that hold all the UI menus, scripts, and all that. So everything's pretty organized. Onward to the next objective, which is just games well polished and portfolio ready. Um. Oh wait, yeah, the skybox does have a different color. There is textures on, as you can see from the power-ups, as seen. The walls also have their own kind of like metal textures applied to it. But when it comes to games well polished and portfolio ready, it could have been a lot more polished and a lot more portfolio ready. It could definitely have become more polished, polished and portfolio ready. But as mentioned before, there was just time restraints, and my right eye has really been just bugging me, and because I don't know what's going on with my right eye, but it's just been acting up. But and it just doesn't like the fact that I'm looking at a monitor for too long. It really just starts acting up even more. But because of that, because of the nuisance that my right eye decided to give me, I kind of just wanted to just turn this version in because I have other files to work with, which requires a lot more monitor time. So I kind of just decided, you know what, I'll turn in this version because because my right eye is just acting weird. I guess I just decided to get some bad luck recently with my right eye. But other than that, this is kind of it for the final project. And hope that everything here goes well.